Did you know? Before the invention of trains, we used to run wagons on your mom. Oh, the memories. Let's just keep on going right here, give her a little highlight.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Bruce Carrington favors Nick Ball in fan-friendly firefight with Brandon Figueroa. Once Bruce Carrington faces Carlos Castro, he'll turn his attention to another featherweight title fight a week later. The unbeaten WBC interim featherweight champion expects WBA title holder Nick Ball to emerge victorious from his mandated defense against American Brandon Figueroa on February 7th at the M&S Bank Arena in Ball's hometown of Liverpool, England. It won't be easy for the unbeaten Ball, a champion Carrington called out on numerous occasions. Schedule's really starting to pick up. You've got Bruce Carrington's fight this weekend on the undercard of Stevenson versus Lopez. Then next weekend, you've got Nick Ball's fight with Brandon. Brooklyn's Carrington figures Figueroa's defensive flaws will enable Ball to leave the ring with his title. I think that Nick Ball will win the fight Carrington told the ring. It'll be a firefight though. Stylistically, it's very fan-friendly. Both of them guys, they like to put on pressure. They're very physical, but I think that Brandon, his defense is what's going to be the reason he might lose that fight. He kind of throws a few rounds away because he gets hit with big shots, and judges, it catches their eyes, and they start to think, okay, maybe this guy won this round. He throws a lot of punches, but he got caught with a lot of punches. So I think that's one of the reasons why Nick Ball may win this fight. It's important to note that Nick Ball is no defensive wizard either. Nick is a pressure guy, and so is Brandon. What else is important to note is that this will be the first fighter in about 3 or 4 fights that wasn't a handpick for Nick Ball. The only reason this fight is happening is because the WBA ordered it, likely as a favor to the PBC, who the WBA is known for doing favors for. Brandon Figueroa basically got to skip ahead of Mirko Cuello, the WBA's interim champion. By all rights, it should be Mirko fighting Nick Ball, not Brandon. The 29-year-old Brandon Figueroa of Weslaco, Texas, has only lost a pair of 12-round decisions to two-weight world champion Stephen Fulton. He bounced back from his second loss to Fulton 11 months ago, a more decisive defeat than he suffered in their first fight by unanimously outpointing longtime contender Joet Gonzalez on July 19th in Las Vegas. Figueroa will encounter a hostile crowd. However, in this fight outside of the United States, what will be his first fight outside of the United States, it's in Ball's hometown. They're fighting for his belt. He has all the advantages, Carrington said. So even if it is a close fight, things could happen. You know how the game goes. So yeah, I feel like Brandon Figueroa needs to go for a stoppage if he's gonna take that belt for sure. DraftKings lists Ball as almost a 4-1 favorite to defeat Figueroa, a former WBC featherweight and WBA, WBC junior featherweight champion. In a 12-round main event, DAZN will stream globally. Carrington is an even bigger favorite in his fight, 9-1 to conquer Castro in their fight for the newly vacated WBC title last held by Stephen Fulton. The bookies may have Nick Ball as the favorite going in, but the bookies also had Andy Cruz as the favorite this past weekend, and look at what happened there. It's not a foregone conclusion that Nick Ball wins this fight in spite of everything he has working for him. You can lean towards Nick Ball to win the fight based on what advantages he has, and I understand that. He's the house fighter, he's the hometown fighter, the crowd's gonna be behind him, likely the judges too. But all of that shit only really comes into it if the fight goes to a decision. Brandon might be looking to take it out of the judges' hands, and he's never been out-muscled. He may have 2 losses on his record, but they weren't to an artillery fighter, a pressure fighter like Nick Ball. They were to a boxer, a mover, a thinker in Stephen Fulton. Different style. I'm no proponent of Brandon Figueroa's boxing. I think the guy's pretty shit. But I also think he's statuesque for the weight. He's got height, length. He's gonna fight fire with fire. So in the exchange, anything can happen. Anyone can land, and there are gonna be exchanges. Brandon, Nick, they're both close quarters fighters. What if Brandon Figueroa wins? Well, that'll certainly be a fly in the ointment for Frank Warren, who's been building up Nick Ball into a local attraction over there in Liverpool. One less champion for the Brits, one less champion for Queensbury. I'm not saying that he wins, but what if he does? Well, the only way for him to get money after that would have to be in unification matches with the other champions at the weight, since the PBC, where he normally fights, don't seem to have any fight dates or anything on schedule. So hypothetically speaking, if he were to win that belt 2 weeks from now, he could only hope afterwards that Turki El Sheikh might find some use for him and use him in one of his Ring magazine shows, because his own promoter doesn't have any fucking money or fight dates. If Brandon wins, he can see about parlaying that world title into a multi-fight deal with, say, a Matchroom, who actually does have fight dates, or maybe an MVP. They got fight dates too, so does Zuffa. They just signed Jayo Pataya. Maybe they'll sign you if Brandon wins. And if Brandon wins, he adopts Mirko Cuello as his responsibility. That guy would be in line to become his mandatory. He's not at liberty to just hold the title hostage like they used to in the glory days of the PBC. The PBC don't have the same influence that they used to have because, well, they don't have any TV money. If Brandon wins, he's stuck between a rock and a hard cock. If Brandon wins, all he can hope for is that some other promoter can find use for him. And the biggest paydays for him would have to be against the other champions. Which one of them do you think he can beat? Do you think he can beat Angelo Leo, Rafael Espinoza, Bruce, if he picks up the WBC this weekend? In men's junior middleweight news, and just in keeping with the theme of all the action set to go down this weekend, Xander Zayas, becoming unified champion, will be more special in Puerto Rico. A chance to become unified champion is special on its own, but doing so in your own hometown adds more meaning. WBO junior middleweight champion Xander Zayas can do just that on January 31st when facing newly crowned Abbas Baru in 154-pound title unification at Puerto Rico's Coliseo de San Juan, the same town he grew up in before moving to the United States at age 11. Once I become unified champion in Puerto Rico, it means the world because I'm gonna make history, Zayas told The Ring. I'm gonna be the first Puerto Rican to become unified on Puerto Rican soil and the youngest unified champion at the moment. I keep rewriting history. It excites me a lot to do it, and once I do, in front of my people, it's going to make it even more special. Zayas versus Baru will be just the second such unification bout taking place in Puerto Rico. Ivan Calderon and Giovanni Seguria met in another bout on August 28th in 2010, with Mexico's Seguria defeating Puerto Rico's Calderon via 8th round knockout. So the Puerto Ricans didn't have much luck that time, but maybe they'll have better luck with Xander. Xander Zayas, 23, will fight in Puerto Rico for just the second time as a professional, having previously boxed there as a 3-fight prospect in February of 2020. Wow. Can you believe that was 5 years ago? A lot has happened since then, and Xander is all grown up, getting things done more so than his contemporaries, while Virgil is engaged in a feud with his own promoter. Reigning champion Sebastian Fundora, he's in limbo. In some ways, so is Boots. Fundora's a PBC guy, and the future is somewhat uncertain for many PBC fighters. We don't know what's next for Sebastian. We've got some idea what's next for Boots, but it's not locked in. Fight with the winner of Murtazaliev versus Kelly perhaps we'll see, while Xander picks up his second alphabet title, potentially, this weekend. Zayas won a vacant WBO title when outpointing Jorge Garcia on July 26th in New York. Baru won the interim WBA title with an upset win over the previously unbeaten Ioannis Tellez in Orlando the following month. The German, 31, was later elevated to full champion after Terence Crawford vacated the belt for his super middleweight mega fight with Canelo on September 13th. Becoming a unified champion won't just represent the fulfillment of a dream for Zayas, it holds similar weight for his longtime trainer, Javier Centeno, and the rest of their team. Team is right. Teamwork makes the dream work. In spite of Top Rank operating at limited capacity, reduced capacity, they still managed to get Xander Zayas a unification match in a timely fashion. Bear in mind, he's several years younger than Virgil Ortiz, and he's already picked up a title at junior middle. It's special. The fact that this could happen in Puerto Rico, Centeno told The Ring, it's one of his dreams, and his dreams are our dreams. We always tell him that as a team, we want what's best for him and follow his dreams. We want to make his dreams happen. What happens after this weekend if Top Rank can't land on their feet? if they can't get their act together and land a broadcast partner, what becomes of Xander? Xander would be a unified champion in that situation, and somewhat of a hot commodity that I think a lot of promoters would be willing to pick up. The question is, which one would be the best fit for Xander?
Brendan.
Wrong segment. This one's about Xander.
Xander.
Given the stakes and where the fight is taking place, it adds another level of excitement for Zayas. I get to do it in front of my people, Zayas said. I get to do it in front of my crowd, and they get to see me crowned a unified world champion.
Xander.
Xander is actually a lot more in tune with his Boricuas than a lot of other Puerto Rican fighters that have come before him, like, say, Danny Garcia, Edgar Berlanga, Julian Hammerhands Rodriguez, several others, as there have been several Puerto Rican fighters over the years that have come and gone, none of which had the same fanfare as a Felix Trinidad, a Miguel Cotto, but Xander. I think Xander is in tune with his Puerto Rican fight fans in a way that a lot of other Puerto Rican fighters are not. It helps that he's bilingual. It also helps that he's got friends in high places, that he's managed by recording artist Bad Bunny. You hear his trainers say they want to make his dreams come true and they want to do what's best for him. So what if after this weekend, what's best for Xander is for him to separate from Top Rank? That they just can't get it together fast enough for this young fighter. Where should he go? This fucking fighter's on Tubi, for God's sake. Not an encouraging omen for the future of Top Rank if a fighter they're invested in, like Xander Zayas, decides to abandon ship for another promotion. And if he sets out for another promoter, who should it be? Should it be Matchroom? Should it be Zuffa? Well, those two might be all right, but the promoter I would choose for Xander, given his unique characteristics, wouldn't be either of them. It would actually be MVP.
What?
MVP, who, in case you're not aware, do a lot of business on the island of Puerto Rico. You know that Jake Paul lives there, and you also know they promote Amanda Serrano, Puerto Rican royalty in the sport of boxing, that I think if Xander becomes a free agent after this weekend, he should sign to MVP, because they work with not one, but two platforms. A lot of their regular fights happen on DAZN, and the really, really big ones go to Netflix.
What?
The very best fit for Xander if he becomes a free agent, in my humble opinion, would be MVP, who need more male faces, male fighters. We know they've fast become the flagship promoter for women boxers, but now they need to beef up their male stable of fighters. I'm sure they'd be happy to have him. The top pick would be MVP. The second would be Matchroom, as they understand the industry a bit better than Zuffa, who've got a big war chest and a lot of money and a lot of resources, but they still are just starting out. Matchroom would be better.
Matchroom.
We'll see what happens. Listen, I don't want to count out Top Rank just yet, but the fact of the matter is we're in January, and they've yet to announce any semblance of a new broadcast partner that can fulfill the role that ESPN was fulfilling. So until that gets sorted out, you have to entertain the idea that they might start losing fighters. They might start hemorrhaging fighters, just like the PBC. Loyalty is a four-letter word in the sport of boxing. Ultimately, the fighters are going to go wherever the fight dates and the TV money is. And if Top Rank don't have it anymore, Xander may go somewhere else. That's reality. Elsewhere in the world of boxing, some recent comments from Dana White that are getting a lot of attention. He said, once you get that Zuffa belt, there's no denying who the best in the world is. Yeah, boxing fans are having a good laugh at that, since the Zuffa belt, brand new belt that's being added to the boxing space, has no lineage, no history, and thus no real pecking order, no way to validate Dana White's claim that whosoever holds it, he or she is the best fighter in the world. What the fuck is that based on? That's Dana White being a promoter. That's how I look at it. That's him marketing his product. So he's going to say stuff like that. He's not going to talk down his own belt. However, that belt, I think, is the remnant of a plan that I think has since been tweaked, adjusted, changed. I think initially they wanted to do the Zuffa belt because they knew there were already so many promoters in the sport of boxing, and they already had so many relationships with the sanctioning bodies. The people at Zuffa felt they can't horn in on their party, so instead they'll throw their own. Up until they got a better look at the landscape and realized the weakened state the promoters were in, and how the sanctioning bodies rely on those promoters. Yeah, they don't have any real power or value that isn't intrinsic. I think the people at Zuffa figured out that the sanctioning bodies fall in line with whoever's got the TV money, and right now PBC doesn't have any, Top Rank doesn't have any, Golden Boy could be losing theirs, whereas Zuffa, they've got Paramounts. So now all of a sudden, they're going after champions. Sanctioning body champions that hold sanctioning body titles where initially they said they weren't going to be working with them. That's how you know they altered the plan. That's how you know they changed it. But if it has changed, where does the Zuffa belt fit into all of this if you're going to be going after the same fighters as everybody else? And we know that they are because they just signed Jai Opataya. They're trying to sign Alexander Usyk and Bam Rodriguez. You're recognizing them as champions, you're working with them and staging the unification matches they want. Where does the Zuffa belt fit into that picture? And what I think is going to happen, I don't think you can replace the major four sanctioning bodies with a Zuffa belt because boxing is big on history. It's big on its own lineage. The Zuffa belt has none, so you can't swap out the major four with that one. What you can do is integrate it with the major four. Try to make them all a part of the same picture, little by little, legitimizing it with the cards that you do and the fighters that you sign, the shows that you put on, your influence, because you have TV money. This would take time. It wouldn't happen right away. Little by little, convincing the major four sanctioning bodies to recognize your title as part of the undisputed picture, if for no other reason than you've got TV money and their old buddies don't. They have to fall in line with that because that's the lifeblood of the sport. No TV money, no boxing on TV, no money for the sanctioning bodies. They don't get to make the same scratch from small hall shows or small boxing matches happening in Central and South America. TV money is the lifeblood of the sanctioning bodies, to where after a while, they may have to fall in line with Dana White's Zuffa Boxing, as he will be one of the few promoters in the United States that still has some. And a part of that might be recognizing his Zuffa belt. It's gonna happen over time. It won't happen right away. The belt itself doesn't mean a goddamn fucking thing to boxing right now because it doesn't have any lineage, but over time, it might start to, and with them on board to help legitimize it. Simply holding the Zuffa belt won't represent being the very best fighter in the world. That is a bold claim, but it will be a part of the overall picture. That's what I can see happening. Dana working with sanctioning body champions and thus sanctioning bodies sort of delegitimizes his Zuffa belt. It sort of takes away from it. That's why you need their involvement, their participation to further legitimize it. Even on a long timeline, I don't think we're going to reach a point where the Zuffa belt crowns the best fighter in the world. I don't think we're going to reach that point, but we can reach one to where it becomes part of the overall picture. Zuffa and their contenders, that's where that belt might start to fit in. So we'll see.